So I was gonna call this video the worst week ever. And then I kind of thought about it and just decided to call it the terrible week, I guess. Because it really wasn't the worst week ever. And a lot of people probably agree it wasn't because they've had worse weeks. But it was a terrible week nonetheless. And this week starts off decent, kind of. And then gets a lot worse as the week goes on. So this week started Friday night about 11:30, and I was just watching YouTube, doing the regular gaming videos, just as a normal viewer does. And you know how you just get sucked into the recommended videos, and you just end up in a place in YouTube. You're like, how did I get here? It's kind of where I ended up. I ended up in the yo-yo section of YouTube, and I was watching these videos, and I thought to myself, this is pretty cool. I kind of want one of these. So the next morning I woke up and I told my dad I want a yo-yo, and we were gonna go to ShopRite anyway. So he said I'll drop you off at the dollar store before we go to ShopRite, and you can just buy one there. So he drops me off at the dollar store, which is a few stores down from ShopRite, and there's no yo-yos. I looked through the store like 4 or 5 times, and there's just no yo-yos. So I went to ShopRite. I told my dad there's no yo-yos, and that was kind of the end of the day. The next day, we went to my grandma's, just me and my dad. My mom wasn't home; she's on vacation, and we were gonna stop off at Walmart before we went home to get a yo-yo. But I told my dad I have a really bad headache, and I don't really feel like going to Walmart. So he said, "Okay, we won't go." So I said, "All right," and I'm really disappointed, but that's okay. Stuff like that happens. So I got up Monday, soccer practice starts, and it was really hot. Like by the time I walked to practice, because I'm like I live really close to it. By the time I walked to practice, I was already sweating. So I kind of knew this wasn't going to be a good day, but I sucked it up. I went to practice, and by the time practice ended, I kind of wanted to die. And I went home, I took a shower, and I played Overwatch for a few hours, and then I said, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep at 10 because I gotta wake up at like 6 so I can get ready for soccer. So I go to bed at 10, and I'm laying in bed and I can't fall asleep. It's 11:30, and I'm just not falling asleep. So I decided to watch some YouTube and then try and fall back asleep again, and I still couldn't. So by this time it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and my mom normally gets up early, so I decide to text her saying I can't sleep. And she says, "Alright, go warm up some milk, drink that, and then try and go back to bed." And I go downstairs, warm up some milk, drink that. And before I go to bed, I text my mom. I'm like, I'm not going to soccer practice tomorrow. If it's anything like what I just went through in that heat with an hour of sleep, I'm not going to soccer practice. She says, okay, I don't go to soccer practice. Wake up at like 11:30, which is super late for me, but because I didn't sleep, I was perfectly fine with that. And I didn't feel good, so I did nothing that day. And then I go to sleep the Tuesday night, and I still had a hard time falling asleep, but I ended up doing it anyway. So I wake up Wednesday morning, and I still don't feel good, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to make it to practice tomorrow. I wake up Thursday, and I'm having none of it. I'm just not in the mood. So I text my mom, and she basically says, you probably need to get out, go do something. So I went out to dinner with my dad to like a restaurant, and when we're coming back, we stop off at Walmart, and we ended up getting a yo-yo. So I was pretty happy. And then I got home at like 10 o'clock, and then went to sleep. I got up, I went to soccer practice, which was this morning, and it was still really hot out, but I still didn't feel too good. So I ended up throwing up, and that wasn't fun. So I came home kind of in a miserable mood because still didn't feel good. Went to practice, didn't do as well as I thought I should have, and then I get home and both doors are locked. I don't have my key on me. I thought my dad was gonna leave one of the doors open, but he didn't. So I'm locked out of my house, and I call my dad. It rings, and he doesn't pick up. So I leave a voice message. Then I call my mom. She says go over to the super who runs all the apartments and takes care of them and see if he has a key. So I go over, he's not home. So I walk back, I call my mom, say he's not home. She says, "All right, call your dad, figure something out." So I call my dad and he says, "Find a rock." And I thought he was going to have me, bust down this window and break into my own house. He says, "Find a rock, a sharp rock, and cut the screen open and get in through the window." So I was still breaking into my own house, just a lot less violent. So I find a rock, I start cutting open the screen. I don't fully cut open the screen. I cut it open a little bit and check to make sure that the window opens at least. And it opened, so I'm like, alright, well, I'm still figuring a way to get into the house. So I cut open the screen, and then I open up the window, and then I realized it's to my living room. I thought it was to my bathroom. And there's my dad's guitar rack right in front of the window. So I push that away and I start climbing in the window and I push the guitar rack a little bit further away so I can get fully in. And then I close the window, put the guitars back in front of it, and I'm back in the house. So I was kind of happy because, at least I was in the house. I still broke into my own house and the screen was completely destroyed. But I got into my house and I was happy because I didn't have to wait 3 or 4 hours for my dad to get home from work. So that was pretty much just the terrible week that I had, from wanting to buy a yo-yo and getting disappointed multiple times, to getting sick from soccer practice, getting no sleep, and being locked out and having to break into my own house. I think it kind of got just a little bit worse as the week went on, but whatever. Thanks for watching.
This is Winston.